All right. So, okay. Tell me a story, okay, of a time that you were at work and you were able to make one of your biggest, like, transformations or accomplishments, or just tell me a story that really stands out to you as a highlight moment for you that you've done over your career.
Other than the database, I think one of our next largest challenges that I ever had to tackle, like so many people, there were a lot. The pandemic was definitely one of them.
Mm,
And I was working with a national franchise at the time, and they were all basically independent small business owners.
mm,
And as we know, the pandemic was closing those down real fast, right?
mm-hmm.
Um,
I remember.
our corporate, our corporate though was able to get us designated as critical to the infrastructure because
Okay.
it was a packing and shipping franchise.
Yeah, so I remember that. They had, like, what was it?
You had to have letters that would say you could go to work
Yeah, there
because you were
was
key to the
what did
infrastructure.
yeah, what did they call that? There was a
Oh, I don't remember
specific
that.
yeah, like essential.
Yes,
Essential workers.
we were essential
And I was
workers.
like, "Oh, the liquor stores are essential?"
They're pretty key to the infrastructure, Trevor.
They were.
Uh huh.
I mean, alcohol laws changed, all kinds of things changed
Yeah,
cuz
yeah.
they were like, people are stuck at home. We got to keep them.
Keep
They're going to
them.
go stir crazy.
They were.
Let them have booze.
Yeah.
You're essential. Liquor stores and all this stuff. Anyway, it was crazy the things that were essential versus
Right.
non-essential. In my opinion on that, I'm going to go on a rant for just a second.
Well, we were packing and shipping, and we were essential because we
All
were how
work is
people got.
essential.
I know all work is
But yes,
essential,
I got you.
but we were how people got their medications and
I hear you.
paychecks and things like that.
I hear you.
So our store owners were facing, we're facing this shutdown,
Yep.
but our store owners and their employees were still expected to work.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had this vast network of people who were freaking out.
Oh yeah, some
And not,
probably some
how
didn't want to work.
some didn't want to
They're
work,
freaking
and
out.
people were afraid to go to work
Yep.
because, and all of it. And so one of the things that I did was institute a weekly Zoom chat. And we just did a once a week check-in.
Mm.
How you holding up
Yep.
mentally, physically, emotionally, all of these.
Yeah, that's important.
And we just did an online Zoom chat and brought everybody together on a weekly basis. And at first, when the stores were empty and there were no customers in them, but the people had to be there working, the conversation was, what am I doing in my store when it's empty? And people were like, oh, my staff's cleaning and this store's never been cleaner. And, we were having conversations like that. And then we were talking about, logistical things of where they got the hand sanitizer or even recipes for making your own hand sanitizer. I mean, we had all kinds of crazy conversations. It was just open script. And that got everybody through the pandemic with a little more sanity, if you will, and it helped connect our group in a way that we hadn't been connected before.
Mm-hmm.
And when the pandemic ended, the number one question I got was, these calls aren't ending, right?
That's awesome.
And so we kept that weekly call going, and it went until my very last week of work.
Wow.
And people were like, is the next team that comes in and takes us over, are they going to keep those calls in place? And I said, oh, I wouldn't bet on it. But I watched those calls, and even when the pandemic was happening and we weren't allowed to have our quarterly networking meetings in person,
Yeah.
we did everything online. Those weekly meetings, we had a lot of new business owners being onboarded still in that time. And when we were able to reopen and go back to in-person meetings, I watched the people who attended those calls on a regular basis walk in the door, and all of a sudden it wasn't I'm going to stand back here and be a fly on the wall because I don't know anybody. They walked in, they instantly knew people.
That's right.
And they were, and I got to looking around and I'm like, look, it's my table of weekly chatters right there.
Yeah.
And so they instantly had connections.
Yeah, you built
with
community
people.
and
Yeah.
culture within the organization,
Yep.
and those people built relationships online, And then when they finally saw each other in person, they weren't strangers anymore.
Yep.
It's like, boom, this is my
Exactly.
clique,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
And that's super important. I bet that helped tremendously with retention as well through that period.
Yes.
Because, if you remember through COVID, I mean, it was, gosh, you had quiet quitting.
Mm-hmm.
You had just had all these things. And I mean, retention was a big issue.
Yeah. It
And
was.
so that's important, I'm sure, bringing that community together, checking in. I mean, I was guilty of it. My personal assistant, this was new to me. I wasn't doing all that checking in. She handled her business. I trusted her to handle the business. She did her thing, always has, always will. I'm not a micromanager. And I just was kind of like,
Yep.
right? But that was not the right move, actually.
Right.
It was not the right move. I should have been checking in. I should have been having a weekly. And what was happening was slowly over time, she was disconnecting. Okay.
Right.
And anytime I would connect with her, it was only if there was a problem, if there was an issue or something. And so it felt to her as if that was, you know what I mean?
Oh, Trevor's calling me. Something's wrong.
It's
Trevor.
Right? And
Yeah.
and it's like, because when she was in the office in person, I was able to get those micro touch points, a little hug or, hey, you're doing so great or whatever. And just all the love I was able to show, those micro touch points. She wasn't getting the love anymore. All she was getting was the problems.
Yep.
And so I should have implemented something like that, because she ended up quitting. And then, we resolved things. She actually came back. And now we do that.
Mm-hmm.
We still do that because she works remote.
Yeah. It's hard when it's remote, and it's more important than ever. I had it because we were all remote, and my boss was like you were saying. I didn't hear from her unless there was a problem.
Correct.